Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit of the WoW podcast, Blue Please on CynicalBrit.com. Welcome to the heroic lost city of the Tol'vir, i.e. the Meow Meow people. What is the lost city of the Tol'vir? Well, you should have seen the normal mode video. And oh god, tigers! My face! My face! As I was saying, lost city of the Tol'vir is infested by evil Tol'vir, unpleasant Tol'vir. And it's a little bit weird because they have this evil genie/Jinn thing under lock and key. Now, I don't know whether or not they're trying to save the world from this guy, or whether they're just holding him captive, or what the hell is going on. I have no idea. The lore behind this place is bizarre, and is explained more thoroughly through questing in this area, as opposed to simply going in here. But yeah, do watch out for the tigers on the right and the left. That's probably not a bad idea. Until very recently, this dungeon was bugged, so there is not a lot of information. We went in here pretty much blind. I don't believe any of us had did this before. This is not my regular group, as you can see. Our group composition at present consists of me, a fire mage, a frost mage, as well as a bear tank, troll bear of course, and a troll hunter, as well as a blood elf paladin. Now, the initial trash pulls are not what I would call particularly challenging. CC can be used here, but is not all that necessary. There is a mob that you do have to watch out for. It goes by the name of the Skinner. And if you see a Skinner in the pack, I would recommend CCing it or focusing that first, because it has this, it's something spine slash or something like that does a massive amount of damage to the tank. It drops health incredibly quickly, so you might want to watch out for that. As you will have seen in the normal mode video, you've got these two captains here as well. They're these mini bosses. They don't do all that much, honestly, aside from this big earthquake thing that you do need to move out of because it will kill you otherwise. Aside from that, they're going to hit the tank pretty hard, but you just nuke them down, and that's that. Unless you are going for the quest, which you should have just done in normal mode anyway, which involves killing two of those things, then you can just go around either the right or the left side of this building, and you can avoid half of the trash. There is a captain on the left-hand side as well as the right. You do not have to kill both. Okay. Next pack, again, not a lot of problems here. We were being overly cautious. Turns out you really don't need to be. We're sitting around item level 333 level gear, so we are the appropriate level for this particular dungeon. These trash packs won't cause you too much of a concern, but there are some difficult trash packs later on, and overall, this instance is nicely paced. Like I said in the normal mode video, it seems like it has just the right amount of trash. In this case, we actually do get to do the evil Pygmy boss, which we weren't able to do in the normal mode, so I can show you that, and some of the fights do get some additional nonsense going on, including the one we're coming up to right now, which I said was possibly the basis for a very good fight, and as it turns out, it is quite entertaining in this particular version. Bear in mind, however, we still have a bug in the beta whereby certain immobilizing effects can DC you from the server. This did happen once, and I believe it is the cause of this wipe, but you will also notice the intensity of this fight and the number of bombs you have to dodge. It's quite entertaining, and a little bit hard. Now, they add one ability, but they do increase the intensity of the others, so it's not a bad upgrade from normal to heroic. He's going to spray bombs everywhere, except he does an awful lot more of them, and they do way more damage, so you really can't afford to stand in them. They also have the effect of knocking you around, so you can end up being knocked into multiple bombs. I just hit one there for 45,000. Yep, that's quite painful. He'll also do that shockwave right there. Don't stand in that. You'll see the dust coming from 3 different angles from him. And oh god, bombs everywhere. So low in health. You get so many of them. It's pretty awesome. It's a lot of fun, actually. And we'll be able to kill him next time because we don't screw up. But whatever the case, do watch out for the bombs. Just look at how many bombs you can actually get in this. So many particle effects. And those clouds right there, they will indicate where the shockwave's going to go. He also has an ability whereby he will grab you and slam you against that pillar in the middle, which will do about 50,000 damage. And if you are really unlucky, it'll also knock you into a bomb. So you have to be healed through that fairly intensely and also use any ability you do have to try and avoid damage. Okay, let's do it properly, shall we? This fight is simply a test of don't stand in the glowy yellow things, which is not that difficult, but it does require you to pay attention. I would recommend perhaps that you angle your camera slightly so that you can see more elegantly on the floor exactly what's going on. There's the dust going out there. You see it doesn't actually hit me. Now you need to get the hell out of there, because as far as I can tell, what he'll do is he'll place the bombs on the floor, and they will activate, and he'll cast something else which will make them pulse and then explode. I believe if you stand in them while they're pulsing like that, then you're okay. Those ones are going to explode. So there you go. They have quite a nasty area of effect. I shall save myself there with the ice block. Our mage actually got disconnected there, which is one of the problems you're going to have with this particular boss, simply as a direct result of the disconnection bug that will hopefully be fixed by the time the game goes live. But if you are going to the beta and you do encounter that problem, it is because of immobilization effects. It's very hectic, though, as you can see. A lot of stuff going on. Got to really nuke hard, as well as pay an awful lot of attention to what is happening. But we do have him. We've got him. No problem at all. He slammed me against the pillar there. Thankfully, didn't disconnect me. But yeah, as you can see, there is a real risk of dropping yourself onto a bomb when he does that. Aside from that, that's a really entertaining fight. Really, really fun. So I'm glad that Blizzard put that in there. And it doesn't seem like the kind of thing you could really overgear, simply because of the amount of damage those bombs actually do. Well, the keen-eyed amongst you might notice, one, this damage meter right here that I'll show you. It's fairly respectable, honestly. Good competitive damage. And we'll also notice that I'm not using Fireball. I am actually using Frost Firebolt. Now, as to just how effective this is, well, that is very questionable, honestly. It is something that has not been properly theory-crafted yet by EJ and by other theory-crafting areas. They're still working on the mathematics for it. But the point is, the glyph of Frost Firebolt is extremely powerful. It buffs the damage of Frost Firebolt by 15%, which will bring it on par with Fireball. And it also gives a stacking dot that can stack now up to 3 times, as you can see right there. And this stacking dot supposedly will roll for 3% of the damage of the Frost Firebolt. Now, obviously, you stack that up to 9% of the damage of the Frost Firebolt, and bear in mind, it can also crit, it can also ignite. It does become quite powerful. As to whether or not it is better than Fireball, I really do not know, but I am doing competitive damage with it here. It does seem to be fairly reasonable, and bear in mind that you're going to get a big benefit out of Mastery with this thing, because it does count as a fire damage over time effect, and Mastery will benefit the amount of damage it does. Combustion also benefits from it, but the dot is not huge. I mean, let's have a look at the nuking right here, shall we? Okay, we've got 1, 2, and there's the stack of 3, except we killed it before we could really look at the damage. Look at the small numbers right there. 93 is the 3%, 189, 231, and then you can get a crit up to about 400 or so. So it does help, honestly. And I suppose there could then be an argument of saying, well, why don't you just stack that and then switch back over to Fireball? It's not really worth it as far as I can tell. But again, like I say, this is entirely untested. This is not a suitable metric to measure the effectiveness of Frost Firebolt. All I can say is that I'm not doing bad damage with it. I'm out damaging the other mage. I am competitive with the hunter. So it's certainly not terrible, but I don't know if it's going to be optimal. We'll see. Just bear it in mind as a possibility, but the only way to use it really is glyphed. You just can't do it any other way. Just to clear up some confusion, by the way, Fireball no longer has a damage over time effect on it. Just bear that in mind. It does not. As you can see by the lack of us dying horribly, these packs are not all that challenging. They're probably the easiest packs in the entire dungeon, so you can just kill a few of those, head on through here. You go through all the way to the side, and there's a wing off here in a sort of swampy area with the evil Pygmy, and he will feed you to the crocs. He also has a smoke bomb. I don't know where he got that. These Diablo-inspired Pygmy towers right here, and yes, you can independently target them. It's an AoE fest, but they do a little bit more damage on heroic mode, so you might want to be a little bit careful. This spec I'm using right here is an experimental one that doesn't have cauterize in it, so yeah, you're going to be a little bit more careful with it. I would not recommend any spec that doesn't have cauterize in it. As much as it's nice to say, well, I'm excellent, I'm fantastic, I'm a wonderful player, I'll never possibly need it. Having a save your ass function is always kind of neat, especially when learning. It can mean the difference between a wipe and a defeat. It also keeps your life slightly longer, and living mages do more damage, I'm told. Now, you do see our mage dying all the time here. There's a number of reasons for that, mostly due to disconnect, so I wouldn't blame him for that too much. The beta, and this is part of the reason why I haven't been doing heroic videos over the last 5 or 6 days or so, has been extremely unreliable. The European beta has been locked down with nasty, massive queues, like 2,500 to 3,000, so I've been playing quite a bit on the US, trying to get video footage from there, but things do seem to have calmed down, and we're not facing a horrible, horrible, laggy mess. Okay, Lockmore. What does he do? Well, sort of does the same thing that he did the last time, really. there's a few things you do need to be concerned with. The first of which is a mark that he puts on a player, kind of like the Panther boss from Zul'Gurub. What it will do is it will send crocodiles to that person. Those crocodiles will eat said person. You have to heal an awful lot. You have to AoE very, very hard to make sure that those crocs die nice and quickly. What will also happen is that Arg will come into the fight, and he will start firing poison darts. He will also disappear, reappear, and he'll do a whirlwind as well, which makes this a little bit messy, as you can very clearly see there. You've got this big amount of damage going on the tank, and that is a direct result of Lockmore's poison. You do not want to leave that on anybody. It has to be gotten rid of very quickly, because it will do a hideous amount of damage. And just to make things a little bit more interesting, he also has an Enrage, which you should either get rid of or just pop all cooldowns to survive, because he does hit like an absolute truck. Shall we try that again? Sounds like a good idea. My recommendation here, by the way, would be to stay fairly close to the boss so that when you get a mark, you can actually taunt the crocodiles off the marked target, as opposed to what you were not able to do, as I recall, in the Panther boss of Zul'Gurub. You can taunt them off and then you can AoE them down, but do watch out for that. Also, he's got this nasty dust tail thing behind him. Not that you'd ever actually want to stand behind him, but don't. Don't stand near the tail. Just like any boss with a big tail, generally not a very good idea. Okay, we're doing much better now, so we've got to the Enrage. That's all good. The crocodiles just ate the other mage. Oh god, the pain and suffering and horrible, horrible crap that's being thrown around right here. But there you go. Now, Arg actually appears and can now be fought as a boss, but he doesn't last very long. He doesn't have a lot of hit points, but he does hit like an absolute truck. So just be completely and totally aware of that. Right, we did use Mass Resurrection to bring someone back to life there, I believe. You can even do it in bear form. Any class can use Mass Resurrection, but you do need to have a level 25 guild. And that is going to take you a while. Okay, Arg has less than 1 million HP, as you can see right there, so we're just going to beat on him as hard as humanly possible. Look at the amount of damage the tank is taking. Good God. Also that whirlwind, stay the hell away from it. Unbelievably unpleasant amount of damage being thrown down on the tank there. Use your cooldowns, make sure you focus everything you've got on the tank, and do move out of those dust clouds. That is all that is required. He'll fire these paralytic blow darts around, but you don't really need to worry too much about that in this particular phase of the fight, if you even call it that. Like I say, you don't get any loot from Lockjaw. Arg steals it, and then you steal it back. It's an odd take on a boss fight, I must say, but it's kind of neat to have something so unique. Okay. That's that done, so you have to move all the way back through here. That could be considered optional if you so desire. I do not believe that they are required to summon the final boss. I just don't see why you wouldn't do them. There's no real reason. Right, we're back on packs right now, and there's not a lot you need to worry about right here. Do a little bit of CC if you feel like it. Is not essential, honestly. We did it on the Dark Caster there, as I recall. Just get the caster mob out of the way so that we can get them into a nice tight group for a little bit of area of effect damage as well as some single target. I wouldn't rely entirely on area of effect now because it's too expensive to do consistently, and also you have mobs that have a lot more health, so single target is most likely more effective. Okay, let's deal with the Dark Caster here. Just interrupt everything it's got. It's not got anything that you should be too concerned with. Heals, Shadow Bolts, same kind of thing. It's just a shame that I think a lot of people are going to not really pay too much attention to this place. It's one of the level 85s, if not the level 85, that seems to get the least attention in the beta. There's 85 dungeons. You've got Halls of Origination, which is a big one, and everyone knows about that because it's the giant pyramid. It's got 7 bosses. It's got Brand Bronzebeard in it. It's this big dungeon. And you've got Grimbatol, which obviously you know about that as well. Grimbatol's a big deal. A lot of stuff going on in there. And then you've got Lost City of Tol'vir, which nobody really cares about, especially alongside Heroic Deadmines and Heroic Shadowfang Keep. But it's nice. It is a good dungeon. It's really well put together, nicely balanced, nicely paced. No real problems that I can see with it. Some of this trash could maybe do with being a little bit more interesting, but some of it's okay. And the healer's really got to stay on the ball for a lot of it, but there just aren't all that many abilities that make a lot of sense. Like that meteor, for instance, that you just saw coming down right there. It's not really a meteor. It doesn't act like a normal meteor would. It's just a bit of area of effect damage. There's nothing that these guys do that you should be overly concerned about. If you don't heal properly and if you pull too many packs, then you die, but I like trash that has something... Every trash pack should have something that's lethal, something that's really unpleasant and nasty, and you've got to learn how to deal with it. That, to me, is good trash. That's entertaining trash. Trash that is just there for the sake of slowing you down is dull. And in this case, I would say that this is fairly dull. They do have this nasty plague cloud thing, but I've never seen it do enough damage to justify worrying about it. Obviously, you stand outside of it, but hey, it's not going to kill you if you stand in it for a few seconds. It's not that strict. Now, for this area right here, you can avoid almost all of the trash, and I would recommend that you do. So we're going to do a little bit of Aladdin-style platforming right here. Jump over the stalls. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Avoid the camels, by the way. They are deadly. You don't have to aggro them. They are neutral camels. You can't cross that, annoyingly enough, and don't really know why. There we go. Sneak all the way around here, save yourself a good 5 minutes worth of pulling, and here we are on what I suppose would be the third boss, but I suppose technically the fourth boss, because Arg and Lockmore are different, although one of them doesn't give loot, so whatever you like. This guy's kind of cool. He was kind of cool in normal mode as well, and this time around he does up the ante just a little. So here's what to expect from him. He's going to do these sun pillars. Do not stand in the sun pillars. You will die very, very horribly. His main ability is he brings everyone to the altar. He forces them to repent and rips the soul from their body. When he does that, you're going to enter some kind of phase. There will be an ad that you have to kill. Think a little bit of Sartharian drakes right there. And you need to deal with that, and then you'll go back into the main arena. Aggro will reset, and then you pick him back up again. In this heroic mode, he also has a phoenix, sort of like the Kael'thas phoenixes that needed to be kite around and killed. There's the repentance. He's put us in this sort of shadow world, and we have to kill this dark phoenix right there. There is area of effect shadow damage, so time is sort of the essence, but it doesn't really seem to stack in any way, shape, or form. It's not getting worse. It's going to hit you for about 4,000. And that's not too worrisome. And there we go. Go straight back in right there. Watch out for the sun pillars, and those phoenixes are going to leave patches of fire on the ground. You do not, under any circumstances, want to be standing in them or anywhere near the phoenix. This starts to cover the arena in fire, and it becomes quite unpleasant. You can, if you so desire, just kite the phoenix around. That's probably not a terrible idea. Or you can try and nuke the phoenix and get it out of the way and then go back on the boss as we did there. But it did the job anyway. We did split DPS there, which was incredibly stupid. We weren't properly communicating on Vent, but that's our fault as a group and something that everyone should really work on. Now, if you have not seen the Wipeathon 3000 strategy video for Siamat, the Lord of the South Winds, I would recommend you do so. There is a link up above right there in an annotation. This is the successful kill attempt. To get up there, you need to go to the wind tunnel, and I like the fact that when they summon this guy, it makes the whole place go grey and rainy and kind of like England. It's pretty awesome. Right, this is the successful attempt on Siamat, and this is what you do for Siamat. So you start with the DPS right here. He's going to bring up a shield very soon, get as much damage in to start with. There's his shield. You don't want to be doing any damage right now. He's got those storm bolts, and he's got those geysers. You don't want to stand in those. The storm bolts randomly target. You need to DPS down 3 of the larger servants. The minions will do chain lightning damage. You need to try and bring those down as well. Okay, let's concentrate around here. You do want to watch your positioning right here, because the ads can spawn all the way over the other side, so they do require some movement, which is a kind of annoying. There we go, got one over there. We can bring that one down, and once we do, what should happen is he's going to go into a transition phase where he's going to go a little bit crazy. Okay, here we go. So he's going to throw everyone around with this wind, so you need to try and stay alive here. Obviously, the priority is to make sure everyone is at full health before that happens. He's going to... If a minion dies and forms a storm cloud, it's going to do something called Absorb Storms, which you see right there. It does massive area of effect damage to the entire group. You can eat it, but you can also line of sight it, as you can see I'm doing right there. So do a little bit of line of sight right there to minimize the amount of things that the healer has to do. What you really should do here is DPS race it. Pop your Bloodlust, Heroism, or Time Warp, whatever you have. Burn it down as quickly as possible, and of course try and stay alive. Take a lot of damage there, but I've managed to line of sight it so that my healer will be able to help me out. No problem at all. He gets it back on the tank. He's absorbed another storms. Do not kill the minions here. They will die anyway, eventually, but the way to do it is to try and delay it as much as possible. Ice block there to survive it, and there we go. Scrappy, but that seems to be the way to do it. Like I say, load the damage on him in the second phase, pop your Bloodlust, pop your Heroism, use your cooldowns to try and stay alive, and if you're in a situation where the healer can't keep up, then move out of line of sight until it runs out. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Lost City of the Tol'vir on Heroic Mode. Quite fun, in my honest opinion. Pretty good. I'd recommend everyone gives it a try if you get into the beta, or of course, when Cataclysm goes live. Don't neglect it. I know it's not going to be all that popular, but seriously, it's a nicely paced dungeon. Don't neglect it. It's a lot of fun. I'll see you next time.